So,
do you have any, Eli?
No, I think we're ready to move on to the next topic here. A lot of the reprints in the set. There's not very many super notable ones, but we're just gonna go through this list real quick, and we'll pull up the cards on the screen so you'll see them as we go. So, Diabolic Intent, great to have that reprinted. It was well needed. Super overcosted to buy that card recently. Glad to see it reprinted. Blast Zone, not super pricey, but also very good for this, considering the amount of things in Standard nowadays that could use a form of removal like Blast Zone. All the Pain lands, well, not all of them, but the ones that were reprinted at least, so a handful of them. Very good to see Mana Fixing still making its way into Standard somehow and get those prices of those lands down a little bit. Painful Quandary is the only one on this list I actually don't know what it does. Want to help out here?
Is whenever you cast a spell, you may either discard or lose 5 life, I believe.
Yep. That is correct. From Scars of Mirrodin originally.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever an opponent casts a spell, the player loses 5 life unless he or she discards a card. Nice. And then, of course, we had to throw in here all of the old border reprints / schematic reprints / full art reprints of the artifacts.
/ Mishra's Foundry.
/ Mishra's Foundry.
I honestly, this is a gripe. I don't like Mishra's Foundry.
I
exclusively worse. Mishra's Workshop, or not Mishra's Workshop. The one that's exactly like it.
That's
it's Mishra's Workshop.
Yep, that's right.
You had it right.
It's I that card is this will do something in Standard, but nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, Commander's not the only format, so you got to remember that.
Yeah, but they don't care about Standard anymore. They even said they don't care about Standard.
That's true. But those old border artifacts, really great. I'm happy to see those reprinted. And some of the arts on those, so good.
Oh, like Helm of the Host.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Ramos Dragon Engine.
That's a great
old border. That's really good.
Unwinding Clock.
Unwinding Clock's really good. Chromatic Lantern.
Dementia.
Alter Dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Ashnod's Altar.
Ashnod's Altar, yeah.
And of course, the classic Magic staple, Howling Mine. Love that card.
I love Howling Mine, honestly.
And the old art, too.
Yeah.
Which is great. And great stacks piece defense grid, too.
Mm-hmm.
Door to Nothingness. What a card.
I love that card so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think like a Lodestone Golem. That's another great reprint. Mystic Forge and Mox Amber are just great. Both great reprints that needed it, even though they were printed relatively recently.
Yeah, honestly, some pretty good reprints in this, even if some of them are only accessible through the set boosters.
It is what it is. We can only ask so much for Wizards nowadays.
That's true.
Unwinding Clock and Sword of the Meek are another good mention.
Mm-hmm.
The should be legal in Commander, but isn't Sundering Titan was also reprinted.
Oops.
Yeah.
Overall, good reprints. Needed reprints.
Yep, absolutely.
So up next, I got some Colorify breaks that could be on the table, possibly, most definitely. Why don't you lead this one, Sherry?
Okay, so I have some gripes with this set, but I love the set as a whole, but man, green is not doing what it should be doing. Green was originally the color that hated artifacts, and For the cards that aren't artifacts in this set, they did a good job, but there's only like 3 of them. And it just, for me, like green is supposed to be the one color that absolutely hates artifacts and should have very limited amounts of artifacts. But it has just as many as the rest of the set, which bothers me. Like one of them, like you may play lands from your graveyard, is on one of these green artifacts, and it's just they were doing so good with the green forest dryad tokens because I thought that's where they were going with this, but they didn't. They decided to make these green creatures create artifacts with Sarenth Great Worm, which is just frustrating.
Yep.
Wizards has lost the
original intention of the color pie.
Yeah, these are just ridiculous. Like they're just starting to ignore the color pie again, which is kind of frustrating. What do you think, Claw?
Sareth Great Worm is easily the most egregious card in the set in regards to color pie disruption. I think the idea of green creating things to build towards more artifacts is absurd, and yet it does just that. I don't care if it's also red. Green is still like this is a worm card, so therefore it is automatically more green than red. I also think that they were kind of had a real design challenge with this set incorporating green as well, because they kind of couldn't without still defaulting to the old
green can do anything.
Yeah, without defaulting to green could do anything, or just making it so weak that it's irrelevant in the draft format. So I don't really think the way they solved it was very good, because I'm just looking at them right now and there's just too many of them that rely on artifacts or create power stones or do all this other stuff to really make it make sense. I think the most green card in the set is actually Awake in the Woods.
Yes,
Yep.
And it's the mythic that's going to be worth a lot of money because it's not only effective ramp, but you have more forest dryads, which are just great to have.
Mm-hmm.
I love that card, but I'm going to talk on that one later.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think in terms of like representing green, in terms of the mythics, I think they're mostly good. Like you said, Titania is one of the better cards in the set, hands down, and also is more of a flavor win. But in terms of like the common level, like things like Sarenth Steel Seeker or Perimeter Patrol, I think just doesn't work for me flavor wise. I think they both kind of miss, and in general on the draft level they kind of miss.
I mean, even Rootwire Amalgam, which is the mythic golem of the set, I think that misses the bar too because you're creating an artifact out of a green card.
Yeah,
it's so hard because Wizards was starting to get good on like re-identifying the color pie with this. Like I understand the challenge of this set, but they just missed the mark. Like green even in its mixed colors are still like creating artifacts like Power Stone tokens, or the Power Stone tokens are like the most egregious thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's just like it's like, for example, like the Simic one, Battery Bearer, creatures you control add generic colorless. This mana cannot be spent on non-artifact spells. That shouldn't be a card in green.
Agreed.
And then it also gets benefit whenever you cast an artifact spell with mana value green or greater, draw a card. What Wizards could have done was just make green the set that destroys artifacts. Like that's what they could have done, and they didn't.
It'd be interesting to see green as the removal archetype in a set, because it's not something I've really seen before. But yeah, I think that's a good way of doing it.
Mm-hmm. It would have been an effective use of it because it would have kept its color pie identity. It would have served a need that I believe is frankly lacking in this set. Like this is one of my few gripes about the set is that it doesn't remove the artifacts can be removed very easily. There's very little removal in like a limited environment. Most times you're removing something, you're doing it on your own volition.
Yep. Just a bit of speculation on this next one. It's just one of the rare lands that was printed in the set. It's called Fortified Beachhead. We think that possibly there could be a future cycle that's revolved around this sort of thing. Fortified Beachhead is just a land. It taps for a blue or white, but the important part is that when it enters the battlefield, you may reveal a soldier card from your hand. Enters the battlefield tapped. The land enters the battlefield tapped, unless you revealed a soldier or you control a soldier. And then you can pay 5 mana to tap it, and soldiers you get +1/+1 until end of turn. I don't know if exactly there will be a cycle based around this sort of thing. I can imagine that there might be like more tribal-based lands like this at some point. But
I like
I
the
just
fact that they're dual lands, though. I do like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and also not typed either, which makes it a little bit like less powerful.
Yeah, there's been a lot of dual lands printed recently by Wizards. So there's plenty of options out there for cheap mana fixing for people that really want to run stuff like this.
I mean, I think there's this is definitely gonna be a cycle, I feel. I think this is something that they're probably like really focused on, or at least they're gonna at least trickle it out over the next couple of sets or possibly next couple of years. It's just a matter of trying to identify what tribes, because I don't really associate soldier with white or blue. It's
Right.
white I definitely get, but blue's a little out there.
I
Yeah,
associate more, like if this were a Boros card, I would associate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, this should be a Boros land if it's going to be anything like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense for it to be an Azorius land.
But I'm intrigued, and I like the space. It's just a matter of they need to identify better what tribe goes with what guild, I guess, if we're going to call it that, is going to be the most efficient way to do it.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, I believe it was the Shadowmoor and Lorwyn cycle of reveal lands. Like I know the black one is goblins, and the blue-black one is fairies. So I think this is kind of like, because there's only half a cycle of these, I believe. Maybe this is finishing that cycle 10 years later, or maybe, hopefully, they're hinting at something great. The return to Lorwyn and Shadowmoor.
Oh God, I can only wish.
Yeah.
Gosh. Enjoy your tinfoil hat, Sherry. While we move on to the next part of this, I assume.
Yeah. Let's each of us, we're gonna kind of give some opinions on what our top 3 to 4 favorite cards in the set are. There might be some overlap, so no reason to hit on some of these again, because some of these we've talked about before. Others we've briefly mentioned, so we can elaborate a little bit more on them. Sherry, why don't you start us off?
Okay. So probably my favorite card that they printed this year is a card that slots perfectly into one of my decks. Is Meryl Shield of Argive. She is a 3 generic and a white for a legendary creature, human soldier. During your turn, opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Whenever Meryl Shield of Argive attacks, create X 1/1 colorless soldier artifact tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control. This is a great mono white commander to build around. It slots very well into your Winota builds because it creates more tokens that activate Winota. I just think this is an amazing card. It's a little stacksy, gives white a little bit of creature advantage very easily, and I just think it touches the base of what I think white really is in the modern era of Magic. What do you all think?
This card is awesome.
Yeah,
I love this card. I absolutely love this card. I think it's cost at the right spot where it's powerful, but it's not like overwhelming. I like the ability. I like the art. This card just does it, man. This card just does it for me. That's really all there is to say about it.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree. The only thing I hate about it is the fact that you're going to put it in your Winota deck, and it's going to hurt even more to play against that deck.
Oh yeah, that's true. I tried not to think about that.
Yeah. So
Winota
in isolation from that, yeah, in isolation from that, very good. I like the deck. I like the card. Super good card. But
I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about making a soldier tribal deck out of this card.
that's also a fair point.
It is like the kind of mono white aggro that like I think mono white has missed, like just directly punching people and getting out of hand. This reminds me a lot of almost Kranko Mob Boss,
Yeah.
but in a very mono white feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As you probably got before, my next card that I really love from the set is Queen Kayla. She is probably the most unique Boros Commander printed from Wizards, maybe besides Feather and Winota. And I just think that it's powerful, it's fairly costed, and it just accumulates card advantage in a completely different way than White's ever done, but is still distinctly White.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this card quite a bit already, so I don't have any other comments on it. You know.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add here. This card's awesome. Play it.
Yep, play it. Next one, I already talked about it. The Stasis Coffin, fairly priced, gonna attracts removal, helps you get your other spells off, protects you when it actually sticks. Extremely versatile card.
Play it.
Play
it's good.
it. Do it. And then we've also talked about this one, but I just got to reiterate my love for the Mishra Meld card. Even before it was played on some other YouTube channels like gameplay stuff, I love this card. It is. I've been meaning to build a Rakdos deck for a while, and the second I saw it spoiled, I wanted to make it. It like Ramos Dragon Engine recurs stuff from the graveyard and has double strike. You accrue tons of value from the Mishra side of it, and then it creates this big heckin' chonker of a creature that just punches people in the face. It is so Rakdos, it is so Mishra, and it is like I will be lost to Phyrexia with this card. It's that kind of card. I love this card.
Yes. Become complete.
I will also like to mention Diabolic Intent as one of my favorite cards, even though I think it's a well-needed reprint, and it's just great. I think it's great for whatever format it's in. I just love it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, on that same note here, with my list of favorites, the Mishra Meld card's on the top of mine as well. So, you know, just hitting on that same point, but transitioning to some of my favorites at that card, I want it so bad. And it's going to be hard to get because it's going to become very expensive with how good it is. It's going to definitely inflate the price of the Phyrexian Dragon Engine, but that's fine. You know, it's expected if you're going to be in a melt card that both cards are going to be almost the same price, probably. Just that Mishra by himself can operate a lot better, so it just goes a little different. Next for me, Drafna, Founder of Latnam. It is a human artificer advisor for 1 and a blue. It's a legendary creature. It's a 2/1. You can pay 1 and a blue to return target artifact you control to its owner's hand, and you can pay 3 mana to tap it, copy target artifact spell you control. The copy becomes a token. For me, the second I saw that card, I started thinking about combos right away. Like, a way to break this card and make it go infinite somehow. And I think one of the best ways you could do it going infinite is some way to untap it when an artifact enters the battlefield, or whenever you cast a spell, it does that. Because I see you could, like, copy, I think, Chromatic Orrery with it, and you could easily go infinite with that if you can untap Drafna every time you cast Chromatic Orrery again. Because you get 10 mana. And you can spend it any color to fit the blue. So I'm pretty sure it could go there. I don't know yet. I haven't actually laid it out and tried to play it out, but I love the potential there, and I love being able to copy spells and make weird jank combos happen out of nowhere.
I think this is one of the more subtly powerful cards, simply because it's only 2 mana.
Mm-hmm.
and that it does, because I assume you're probably going to play Mycosynth Lattice in this, so you can effectively, if someone's trying to kill you, you can return your important pieces and hold on to them. And if people are trying to target it, of course. And then obviously the copy ability is just kind of absurd.
Yep.
It's great design space, very mono blue, but also like not completely unfair.
Yeah. Next for me, Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor.
Good choice.
I'm so happy to see Gix have a card. Is it Gix or Jix?
I believe it's Gix.
I thought it was Gix. So Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor is cost 1 and 2 black. It is a legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, and it is a 3/3. Definitely the lowest power and toughness for any of the Praetors we've seen thus far. However, its ability, whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life if they do draw a card, and then you can pay 4 and 3 black to discard X cards and exile the top X cards of target opponent's library. You may play lands and cast spells from among the cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. Honestly, it's not that powerful of a card. However, I love it. I love seeing Gix get a card finally, because the last time we'd seen Gix on a card, it wasn't even a real Magic card.
Vanguard.
Yeah. I'm happy to see him finally brought to a card, not just talked about on a card, and be able to see him actually have abilities that are meaningful.
Yeah, also mono black control. It gives me vibes of Edric a lot.
Yeah.
In a very mono black way.
Absolutely. I'm going to skip this one because I actually don't like it as much as I used to. So, we'll talk about Awaken the Woods. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but this is where we'll be able to actually hit on it. Awaken the Woods costs X green. It is a sorcery. And whenever you cast it, create X 1/1 green forest dryad land creature tokens. That is a lot of text to basically say you get 1/1 lands.
You get 1/1 Dryad Arbors, effectively.
Yep. That's what you get. And they're still affected by summoning sickness, obviously. But I think being able to dump a bunch of mana into this and get a full board, so good. Like, you can effectively double your mana if you're able to dump a lot of mana into this. Even like triple or quadruple it if you can have like mana doublers somewhere. And that really speaks to me as somebody that loves to flood the board with things and not know what to do with half of this shit. But it's so just... it speaks to me in a way that some of the other cards in the set have not.
It is I honestly think of cards that could get banned out of the set. This might be the one that I would see getting banned in Standard.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so much value.
Yeah.
And I think one of the really great things about it is that if you're able to get it back to your hand and cast it again, you can use those forest strides to make even more forest strides. And I love that. That's just silly.
It's madness.
Yeah, It's absolute madness. The last card, we've already talked about it. Liberator, or just Balithopter. Going to reiterate on it. We have an Osgir deck that my girlfriend runs, and I want to get that card for her deck, because whenever I play that deck, I always feel like everything's so slow, and there's no way to interact at instant speed sometimes.
That deck's going to become more insufferable.
Oh, absolutely. I love that, because I want to make that deck an even better for her, and I can't do that obviously for her. I just need to kind of prod her in the right direction, be like, hey, these are cards you should get. And then if she doesn't get them for herself, I'll get them for her for a holiday or for an anniversary or something. Be like, here's some Magic cards, put it in your deck.
Christmas is in a few weeks.
Yeah,
Look, a Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter in your stocking. How did this get here?
if she's for some reason listening to this, spoiler alert, you're getting some magic cards for Christmas at some point. Not this year, but at some point.
Or maybe it will be this year.
If I get it out by the end of the year.
Yeah. David, why don't you give us an idea what some like top 4 for you?
All right, so number 1 is I'm going to be derivative and boring, but Mishra claimed by Gix and the meld card Mishra lost to Phyrexia is an absolute win in all categories.
It's a banner.
It is a flavor win. It is a power win. It is an artistic win. It is a mechanical win. This card is just a flat out win. I think it's the best. It's probably the best card released this year. I'll go that far. I think this card is just absolutely awesome in every way that matters. And I cannot express enough how much I love it. Like, truthfully, I think this card it's definitely going in a deck. I don't know which one yet, but I'll figure it out. And y'all going to suffer because of it. And I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on it and play around with it more. The rest of them are going to be a little bit more out of pocket. So the first one that I would like to single out as being particularly fun is Tokasia, Dig Site Mentor. It is a 1 generic, 1 green, 1 white, and 1 blue legendary creature, Human Artificer. Creatures use control have vigilance and tapped surveil 1. And you can pay 2 generic, 2 green, 2 white, 2 blue, and exile Tokasia, Dig Site Mentor, from your graveyard to return any number of target artifact cards with total mana value 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield at sorcery speed. It is a 4/3.
This is a great
Wow.
This card, I want to build around this card. It has gathered my curiosity in a way that I don't think many other cards have. I think the Surveil 1 effect is a great mechanic for a commander to have. And Vigilance as well also doesn't hurt. But the big splashy effect especially is just the kind of thing that can just outright win you games if used correctly.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I also love that like Surveil is on a non-blue only or black only card.
As do I. I think that's great. It's just such a cool space, and it's something I haven't really seen. I've seen it before, but at the same time, it's not been as interesting as I've seen it here. So it's something I definitely want to play around with. The second one appeals more to my Timmy sensibility, and that is Blade Coil Serpent. Blade Coil Serpent is an X generic and 6 generic for an artifact creature Serpent. When Blade Coil Serpent enters the battlefield, for each 2 blue mana spent on it, draw a card. When Blade Coil Serpent enters the battlefield, for each 2 black spent to cast it, each opponent discards a card. And for each 2 red spent to cast it when it enters, it gains +1/+0 and trample and haste until end of turn, enters as a 5/4. This card is crazy.
That is a rules lawyer nightmare.
This card is crazy.
There's so much cheating that's going to happen with this card.
yeah, it is. It's very I won't say it's complicated, but there's a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, you have to actively declare what each type of mana you're using to cast it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just tapping these 2 and then saying it. It's 2 blue, 2 more blue,
2 black. But
4 red.
The reason I love it is because it's so versatile. I love the versatility of this card. It can give you more draw. It can give you, it can give you discard effects for if you're running it. It can give you, it can give you a huge hitter to just go out at somebody if they're really low and you can sneak a kill off them. This card is only going to be played in very specific decks that focus on aggression. So I don't expect it to be a particular EDH favorite or even a standard favorite for that matter, although it might be. There's a lot there that it could do. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it played. But overall, yeah, this card is overall the kind of thing I love to see, which is big, splashy, powerful, and dangerous effects. And it does it. It works for me, man. I can't help it.
It appeals to the Timmy and all of us.
It does. It tickles my Timmy real good.
Phrasing.
I wish with this card it would give it a trample and a haste counter rather than just a land.
That's fair.
I think that's Because I also like the idea of if I paid all red into this, I have quadruple trample and haste, which I know isn't a thing, but it's a fun idea.
Yeah. All right. And the final one that I would like to call out as being particularly interesting is Phyrexian Flesh Scourger.
Ooh,
We've talked about this card earlier, but this card's really good. It is a solid beater. It is a solid, staple in any kind of major big black strategies. Any kind of like Voltron deck, I can assure, like if the commander doesn't do it, this is a good backup option. And the fact that it's so hard to properly kill because it extracts such heavy toll on its own makes it, I think, a cut above the normal big beaters that we see in black.
Yep.
So, yeah, I've said my piece about this card already, so I'll leave it there.
I think this is, to compare it to another card, I think this is a, what's the name of that card? Worm Coil Engine. I think this is a Worm Coil Engine-esque card, but it's good. It's as good in a much different way.
Yeah. I don't think it's quite as oppressive as Worm Coil can be, but this card is very, very good. I'll also give a shout out as well to the best reprint, and that is Painful Quandary.
Great.
This card has so desperately needed a reprint for so long because it's just been such a strong discard piece, and I'm happy to see it here in a set where it could actually somewhat live up to its potential.
Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up here. So remember to like, subscribe, talk about some of the cards in the comments if you really want. Tell us if you agree, tell us if you disagree. Give us any kind of feedback that you can. David, thank you for joining us today. Hope to have you back onto the show again. It's really nice having you here to kind of add another dynamic that, we're able to see some other perspectives on these sorts of things. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, thank you very much, David.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, so until next time, make sure you all stay hydrated and do everything that you need to do today, because honestly, some of us are forgetting that.